Preseason game number 2 is in the books, and KC, we have a problem tonight live on Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back in. Thanks for joining us after a ball game in the preseason, and it's super late, and it's raining in Seattle, and you guys are here anyway, and we appreciate you. Matt Derrick is here with us as well from ChiefsDigest.com. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network, and check out another Locked On show for your next one. Just don't listen to the Seahawks show. That's all I'm saying. We're brought to you by Monarch Money tonight. Thanks. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use our code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off of your first year. We're going to get after it here because a lot to talk about in what is usually a pivotal game in the process of determining the 53. I'm not so certain. So we're going to get Matt's input here from ChiefsDigest.com, Chiefs Digest here on the YouTube platform, as well as 41 is the mic. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting. And my partner, Chris Clark, over there at KC Chiefs Corner. You guys know us. We've been doing this for a long time. And if you don't know us, it's 15 plus years for each of us covering this team. Matt as a professional, us as professionals of a different sort. I'm not even going to go there. So what I want to know tonight is, A, what's real? We're going to get to that coming up. What can we take away from this? That'll come later in the show. The effect of no Mahomes and no Kelce, while great for them, what does that do for the rest of the team? I think it was evident tonight. But we start, Matt, and I want to ask you right off the top because I'm not trying to be hyperbolic, but when you have an opportunity to start on defense the way that you did tonight against a team that, quite frankly, is not as talented on paper as you are, I think this is a problem. I think there are some contributing factors to it, but I am more concerned coming out of this preseason game than maybe any other one of the Mahomes era so far. What do you think?
I mean, once again, you have to put things into perspective and think about just sometimes what goes into the game, because remember, this is still 2 games where the Chiefs aren't doing any game planning offensively or defensively. Basically just showed up for the most part and decided to see what happens. It certainly looked like the Seahawks put a lot more effort into preparing for this game than the Chiefs did. And the Chiefs are just using this game as purely evaluation. And really both teams went about the game in completely different ways. I mean, Seahawks didn't leave their starters in for very long, but obviously the Chiefs didn't have any of their main stars. None of their start and their key players were in there. So I think you can certainly say, I mean, both teams went about with different approaches. And this was for the Chiefs. I mean, this was typically like a third preseason game approach. And there's a lot of reasons for that. I mean, one specifically is that with that season opener in Brazil, I mean, the Chiefs, basically Andy Reid's reversing games 2 and 3. He wanted to be able to have this game be the game that they can evaluate all their young players, see, who the guys who are at the bottom of the roster, who's competing for jobs, who's competing for roster spots, and make that evaluation now, because when they're getting into that third preseason game, that's going to be their rehearsal. That's going to be their run through for the regular season, but it's also the beginning of them starting to get ready for the Chargers. So, I think a little bit of this was simply, I mean, Andy Reid doesn't care about preseason games and wins or losses, and this one in particular. Are there reasons to be concerned? Sure. I mean, you see your run defense gashed the way that the Seahawks gashed it today, regardless of whether it was your second team or not. You're going to have some concerns, but in grand scheme of things, does this take away from any or added to any really concerns that you have for the regular season? For me, it doesn't.
I'm glad you said what you said about this being flipped with the regular preseason game number 3, because to me, that's really what the whole story of this game was. You start the game and you see basically the Chiefs' second team out there for the defense, and they have them come down the field and basically go score a touchdown right off the bat. And you look at how it ended up playing out, and even into the fourth quarter, you had guys like you had Jason Brownlee on offense playing in the fourth quarter, a guy that scored a touchdown in the first quarter last week, playing in the fourth quarter this week. They weren't playing some of their younger guys. They were giving some of their guys just chances to play. So I think that this is interesting that this is going down this way. I did not like the effort that I saw from some of the defenders, but at the same time, like you said, Matt, you're missing Chris Jones, you're missing Nick Bolton, you're missing Drew Tranquil, Trent McDuffie, and those are just some of the defenders you're missing. And no game planning, I do think that makes a big difference in how this defense prepares and gets ready for a game. And then the other side of it is, how many times have we seen the defense, generally speaking, not look good early in the game, and sometimes not even look good early in the season, and then start to figure things out as time goes on?
Yeah, and there were some, I thought, rotations, especially even early in this game. I mean, yeah, and you saw some players, shuttling in and out throughout the game because the Chiefs were really, I mean, trying to find out about some particular guys. And if you're thinking about, to me, it's the context of who really made a case for themselves, who improved their stock tonight. I mean, the coach is going to have to go through the film pretty hardcore with a fine-tooth comb to find some guys who improve their stock. I mean, even Sky Moore with the great punt return, you're going to have to balance that out with a couple of really bad misses on offense. And I'm not sure that the punt return is enough to even, boost him back into the wide receiver conversation. But, talking on the defensive side, there's a guy like Marlon Tuipulotu was a guy that this week I saw getting a lot more reps, and it looked like, okay, he's going to get a showcase on Friday night to see if he can make this team. If maybe, if they're going to keep a 10th defensive lineman, Tuipulotu might be the guy. Did you see enough from him tonight to feel like that he can be that? I mean, I was focusing on him, and I felt like it was a rough night, but it was a rough night for the entire defense. I'm sure the field conditions didn't help. Not that, I mean, you got to deal with that, but I think probably the more important question coming out of this is going to be the injuries, and that's the part that it certainly seemed like it hit the defensive side pretty hard, and that could be an issue because if the Chiefs' defensive depth was tested tonight, and then on top of that you lose some of that depth, that could be a real concern going forward.
It adds up. It certainly does. I think my overall concern is as you said earlier, this was an opportunity to see what you had on the second tier. And not, let's be honest, not all the second tier. You miss a couple of starters on each side of the ball. This was not a wholesale, the twos are playing and the ones are out. So my expectation is that you're better athletes, you're a better team than that. So I come away still disappointed as a whole. I know it doesn't really mean a whole lot in the scheme, especially in context of what they want to do next week. But I expected more from these players. That's just the way that it is. If some of them are out, what happens? What contributed to this game in its entirety? I think there's one other factor. We're going to talk about Mahomes and Kelce sitting and what that means overall next.
Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. I've used Monarch Money for at least 7 or 8 months now, I think, and I've loved it. It is awesome to be able to have everything at your fingertips. You see, and it budgets out your money. It shows you what you're spending your money on. It shows you your income in, your income out. It is a fantastic app. You need to go give Monarch Money a try. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
Matt, I have a tinfoil hat I want to put on for a second because not only is the coaching staff looking forward to game number 3, and I think you have an excellent point there in terms of what it means for the season getting ready next week. But I can't help but think when we heard from Andy earlier in the week, hey, Pat might not be out there this week, and the team certainly understands that going in. I want to know, from your experience around this team, if you feel that there's enough leadership beyond the guys that were out tonight, the stars. You take that away. Was a bit of a pucker moment here that, oh, we have our quarterback's out, our tight end's out, Chris Jones is out. Like, what do we do? Was this a deer in the headlights moment to you? Do you think that was part of the factor in the performance we saw, not just on the defensive side, but in the offense's inability to move the ball with a whole lot of effect outside of Robert Tonyan either?
I mean, hey, if you don't have your leaders out on the field, I mean, absolutely, it has an effect. And hey, defensively, you talk about the struggles. Well, Jack Cochran was the Mike linebacker tonight, and it's not Nick Bolton. He wasn't out there setting the defense, and so it was an opportunity for Jack Cochran to get some experience. Now, Jack Cochran's your third string at best middle linebacker. I mean, if something happens to Nick Bolton, more than likely Drew Tranquil is stepping in. And then if something happens to Tranquil, then you get to go to Jack Cochran. So, and in some cases, it wasn't even your second team. It was your third team that was getting gashed at moments. But this is Ryan, it's probably you bring up a good point. And I think this is one of those things that Andy Reid kind of does to his team periodically and does do in training camp and does do in the preseason and likes to do, which is to challenge and see if what leadership he's got in other guys and who can step up. Was there any leadership tonight? I think if there was anything, there was maybe a little bit of a glimmer with Gardner Minshew. Because I think there's been some concerns in training camp, just, whether or not, Gardner is necessarily the guy that, that could take over and, lead this team if needed, for a period of time, if you have to play without Patrick Mahomes. I mean, if you had to play 3 games without him, is Gardner Minshew the guy that can keep the show going? Or are you going to go 0-3? I think tonight there was a little bit of a glimmer that, hey, Gardner can get you by. He could be the understudy. And then again, that was, seeing his performance in light of no game planning, nothing specifically that was done for just Seattle. So I think that's encouraging. I think you learned a little bit about the defensive side, which is that, hey, what's your leadership after Chris Jones and Nick Bolton? It's in development. I mean, it's a lot of young guys that just haven't stepped up yet. Will a Jaden Hicks be there eventually? Will one of your linebackers, whether it's a Jack Cochran or someone else? I mean, Leo Chanel, whomever it may be, is there somebody else going to step eventually? I mean, you do need to develop that leadership. The one thing I thought was really also challenging is that, and the Chiefs have been doing all through training camp, is that they've been putting Omar Norman Lott in just the trial by fire, because he tweaked that ankle at the very beginning of training camp and they didn't give him time off. I mean, they've been pushing him to continue playing through that injury. And part of that is just they're trying to build Omar Norman Lott. And I firmly believe they're trying to build Omar Norman Lott into what they have in Chris Jones right now. They want Omar Norman Lott to be the future of the front end. They want him to be the leader, to be the guy on the inside. They're asking him this year to probably play more 1 tech than he's going to play in the future. He's really more of a prototypical 3 tech like Chris Jones, but he's not going to play 3 tech when you got Chris Jones. So he's got to play a different role right now. And they're asking him to do that. All these things that they're doing are trying to challenge him. Is Omar Norman Lott ready to take over the defense and be a leader right now? No. But that's why they're trying to instill this and build it in him. And there are probably some other guys they were testing tonight too. Whether or not they passed or failed, I mean, only the coaches can tell you that for sure. But once again, you go through this and it's like, it's tough to find the guys tonight that you can say, hey, this person seemed to prove something tonight. This was a rough night for everybody.
Well, and it goes even beyond that, because you talk about Jack Cochran being the 3rd middle linebacker, but he was a starter tonight and he gets injured. And then you have Noel Williams that's out there as a starter tonight and he gets injured. And Najee Johnson's out there as a starter tonight and he gets injured. So at that point, you're running your 3rd string corners at best, and your 3rd or 4th string middle linebacker past Cochran. You start dealing with some of those injuries and you're going to have screw ups in the defense. And when you look at what the offense did, I did like what I saw from Gardner Minshew, but I also think that it takes another step forward if you actually have a Travis Kelce or a real game plan of some sort on offense where you're trying to use Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy in some sort, because they really weren't trying to do that. But I did like what I saw from Tyquan Thornton in just his adjustment for a catch, getting it down near the goal line. Before Tonyan, and then Tonyan's contributions on offense. So I thought you saw some people step up. And the one thing I will say about Tonyan, and Matt, you've been saying this all preseason because you've been seeing him in camp, he looks like he could be, I'm not going to say he can replace Travis Kelce, but he looks like he at least gives them an option if something were to happen to Travis, or they need to have somebody out on the field when Travis to keep snaps off of Travis Kelce.
I mean, this guy was a 500-yard receiver with Aaron Rodgers, and it wasn't that long ago in the grand scheme of things. He just disappeared off the face of the planet, it seemed like, for 2 years. So, hey, is it just a matter that he needs to be with a winning quarterback? He needs to be within a good system. I mean, and the system is maybe more important, because I could say that it's about elevating. Maybe Patrick Mahomes is elevating a guy like Robert Tonyan. But you saw it tonight. I mean, he's catching passes from Gardner Minshew and Chris Oladokun too. So it's not like Robert Tonyan has been a Patrick Mahomes, factory. I mean, it's a product of that. If anything, I mean, like 85% of Tonyan's production, even in training camp, has been with the backup quarterbacks and not with Mahomes. If you want to put on your tinfoil hat, though, Ryan, and I'll go down this road with you. Hey, Jason Brownlee was exactly where he was during the week, which was buried. So, hey, are the Chiefs trying to play a little 3D chess here with thinking, okay, Tyquan Thornton's going to be on the 53, but maybe if we hide Jason Brownlee in the fourth quarter, nobody's going to notice, and you can sneak him through waivers back onto the practice squad. I mean, it's certainly, there's a few moves tonight that certainly felt like that was a possibility.
Folks, Matt Derrick, your future assistant GM, as he maps out the future of how we go about some of these tools of the trade. I have some takeaways I want to ask you point blank, Matt. A couple of them coming up, but Tonyan was one of them. We've kind of covered him already. 3 of the top 5 plays from scrimmage tonight went to Tonyan. Good for him. Who else shows up, and what's real? Is Tonyan real? Next. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy, and it's the best time of the year because the NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. This year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Locked On Chiefs are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, so you should too. Whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league, you can get into it. My main league is over 20 years old, and it's been on Yahoo forever. Make sure you check this out, because to celebrate their 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over the 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped the Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated from the league each week until there's only one left standing. And this season, it's just around the corner. Now's the time to get your league together and give it a try in a new mode, whether it's one of the classics, this guillotine, or head-to-head, or you can just join a normal public league like you have in the past. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Okay, let's have some fun with this. It's the preseason, so let's go shotgun style. We'll just throw names out, Matt, and a slight setup. You just tell me if you thought it was real, and then Chris will throw something at you, and we'll just go back and forth. Maybe the play that stood out to me early the most is I felt like there was more pop out of Pops when he caught that little pass. Like, is that real? Can he be more in the pass game this season?
I mean, Isaiah Pacheco it looks healthy. He says he's feeling pretty good, better than he felt at any point last year. So, yeah, I mean, the question is going to be, once again, because it has been the last couple of years, how long and how much can Pacheco hold up? Is he going to get dinged up and get injured again? You've got to probably manage him, and that's why you're going to handcuff Kareem Hunt to him. Got to manage his workload, but I mean, Pop looked like Pop tonight, and if he can stay healthy, yeah, you can get that kind of work out of him, I think.
Interesting one to me. You talked about Jason Brownlee, and I said something in the first segment. We kind of talked about him a little bit last segment. He gets buried in the fourth quarter, doesn't really do anything, but he's out there playing. But the other guy, when you start talking about wide receiver and this whole Rashee Rice thing, and him maybe being suspended for the early part of the season, maybe not, it really affects is going to be Nico Remigio, and he didn't return a kick tonight. I just looked at the stats. He didn't return at all, and he was playing in the late third and early fourth quarter. is there a possibility he doesn't make the roster because of the other issues with the Rashee Rice thing at this point?
I mean, it does, I think, complicate things a little bit, because if you know you're going to have Rashee Rice, then you know you're going to have your top 5. And your 6th best receiver is Tyquan Thornton, and it's not close. So, if Tyquan makes this roster, where's Nico? I mean, you're going to have to carry a 7th receiver if you're going to keep Nico on this team. And I mean, there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that the fact that Nico wasn't returning any kicks tonight was because they wanted and needed to see everybody else. And you needed to see if anybody else could break out for you. Now, the one big breakout play you get is from Sky Moore, who is also buried deep on the depth chart right now. And
also had a pretty good return.
And Royals was the other one. And Royals is the one that, that one I said was really bad for Nico Remigio, because
that's what complicates it.
If the Chiefs look at that one play and say, okay, Jalen Royals can handle this, because I'll tell you this, after 2 games, I got a lot of concerns about Brashard Smith being able to handle it. And I say that as a Brashard Smith fan, but I'm a fan of Brashard Smith catching the ball out of the backfield and slowly becoming a running back. I mean, he had a couple of good little moves tonight, but those were also against some 3rd-team defenses. But I don't have a lot of confidence in Brashard Smith receiving punts right now. So that's where, if you feel like a Jalen Royals can give you that reliability, but again, if you think it's hit and miss, and let's say, hey, in game 3, Jalen Royals has a punt return that doesn't look like that, or bobbles a ball, or makes a miscue, all of a sudden you're going to be like, wait a minute, Nico's the one guy who can go out there, catch the ball, make sure you don't turn it over, and hand it to the offense.
That's the really interesting part. And I think the bigger thing for me is I wrote down weave for the first time in my game notes since Jamal Charles was on this roster. Like, we saw a running back weave tonight. Yes, it was third string defense, Matt. You're absolutely right. But that is an encouraging sign. I didn't expect it to flip like that. So turning all of it on its head, I think not only does Smith not really push Nico, I think he might be pushing Elijah Mitchell out of the way. Is Mitchell going to make this roster, or is it over?
Well, I mean, I had my next rosterology that I had out tonight on Chiefs Digest, and I only had 3 running backs, because I could not make a compelling argument to keep Elijah Mitchell or Carson Steele. And
changed tonight.
And Carson's trying his best. I mean, if Carson Steele makes it, it's going to be because the Chiefs feel like they can use a fullback, and he's enough of a utility player on offense as an H-back, as a 5th tight end, a potential running back.
Too.
Special teams, all of these things. I mean, he can be a little bit of a utility player. But we also saw tonight, I mean, Carson's not super electric. I mean, he's got his shortcomings, but Elijah Mitchell, did what he's been doing in training camp, which has been not showing a lot of punch and electricity. And that's what the Chiefs need in that roster spot. So, I mean, the question is, hey, if the Chiefs are going to carry 4 running backs right now, I think that 4th one might be Carson Steele. I'm not 100% convinced of that. I might be about 60% convinced of that, but I'm probably about 35% convinced that 4th running back might not be on the roster right now at all.
Really quick. Really quick, in that same vein though, Matt, is it possible that you're talking about a situation where it's Carson Steele or Nico Remigio? Because you're looking at the roster numbers and you're either going to keep 4 running backs, or you're going to keep 7 wide receivers.
Yeah, to me, I think there's a pretty good chance, the way I think that the roster is shaping up right now, that you're probably going to end up with like 25 on offense and 25 on defense.
Oh, sometimes, so you think it's going to be even this year? That's not normally the way it is.
It's not. I mean, sometimes the Chiefs end up going 26-24, but if it ends up being 25 and 25 and you got 25 on offense, one is that I have a really hard time making a case for a 10th offensive lineman right now. There's nobody who's really clear-cut defined that. So, and there's enough flexibility with the guys that I think are going to make it, like Jalen Moore, Wanya Morris, that, you could get away with 9 offensive linemen. tight ends. I mean, I think you're going to have to carry 4 because Robert Tonyan has just forced his way onto this team. And now there's always the back, door trick to keeping Robert Tonyan, which is that he's a veteran. You can release him. He doesn't have to go through waivers. You can make the deal that says, say, hey, Big Bob, don't go anywhere. We're going to sign you back tomorrow to the practice squad. Maybe we'll even put you on a 53 before week 1. There's a lot of things, but that can be one of the little backdoor roster tricks that the Chiefs utilize, especially if there's somebody that they would like to keep and protect that would have to go through waivers. And, in that case, a Tyquan Thornton and a Jason Brownlee could both fit into that category. So, there are always little roster tricks that you can use. But again, I mean, if you're keeping 4 tight ends, I mean, keeping an extra running back gets a little bit harder. But if you save one on the offense, but then we're also talking about if you keep Nico, I think you're keeping 7 receivers. So, yeah, I mean, it's your last decisions. I mean, to me, it's not like, is it a choice between Nico and Tyquan Thornton? It's a choice of Nico, Robert Tonyan, Carson Steele, whomever your 10th lineman at this point might be. I don't even know. Is it Chu Godric? Is it CJ Hansen? Is it Esa Pole? I don't know. I mean, it's a mystery right now.
I think that mystery is going to be fun, but there's got to be other elements that could come into it. Is there anyone else that stands out to you tonight that we just still don't have enough information on?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I was trying to think about that. If there's anybody that, I'm like, after this game tonight, it's like, I still need to see more. And, and the reality of it is that the biggest one that I need to see more of is Kingsley Suamataia. I really thought that there might be a possibility that once they pull the starters, along the offensive line in the first quarter, that Andy Reid might go ahead and keep Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia out there for the second quarter to play with some of the second team, because I haven't seen enough of Kingsley to be able to tell you for sure that yes, he can man that left guard spot and you're going to be fine. I think you're probably okay with what you've seen from Josh Simmons at this point to move forward, but I think Kingsley's a little bit more questionable. I don't think he's seen enough work yet. And now, once again, maybe the starters are going to play into the second quarter. Maybe they'll play into the third quarter. Who knows in game 3? I do think you're going to see the starters a little bit more in the game 3. And maybe that's where Kingsley will get some extended work. If he gets like 25 snaps, maybe you're going to, be able to, feel, one way or another. If, yes, that Kingsley has nailed down that job, or you're just going to have to watch him really closely going into the season. But he's the guy I need to see more from.
It's interesting you mentioned him. PFF earlier was talking about how he was, I think, the Chiefs' highest rated offensive player, but had a very, very poor pass blocking grade. Have to go back and rewatch some of his snaps. It was interesting to watch. But I do think when you watch this team and you start talking about how it's going to play out with some of these guys making the roster, and you brought up Tonyan a couple minutes ago. I'm curious, do you think that they actually could get him through and nobody else is going to offer him any kind of deal with what he's shown at a tight end, even a tight end 3 on the Chiefs team? I mean, he has shown that he can play in the NFL with what he's done so far in the preseason.
Yeah, I mean, another team could come through with an offer, but you got to think that the Chiefs have got the best situation. I mean, a guy like Robert Tonyan, I'm sure the number one reason that he's on this team is because he wants to try and win a Super Bowl. So unless it's another Super Bowl contender that comes calling, I doubt Tonyan would be going anywhere.
And they don't have a money problem this year. Sorry.
There you go. And see, so, but I would be interested. Yeah, I would definitely be interested to see if that might be a possibility that they do consider, just because there's a lot of advantages to trying to sneak a veteran onto the practice squad in week 1. It might be a risk, but it's a lot less risky than exposing a young player that's still eligible for waivers that you could absolutely lose, that maybe you want to try and keep and hold on to.
Got to use all the tricks in the book to get your 53 right, and that's what they're going to have to do. We're going to have more for you all week long as we get ready for the rest of this. Do you have something else?
I just was going to ask Matt, what is your gut telling you right now when it comes to how much the Chiefs are going to play in the third preseason game, like the starters?
I mean, I think they're going to play a good chunk. I'm thinking that the starters will probably play most, if not all, of the first half. You might even see some go into the third quarter, but because I really think this was the opportunity for the young guys to make their case.
Yeah.
If I think the 53 is going to be mostly set coming out of this game, and that third preseason game is now all going to be all about getting ready for week 1 and getting ready for the Chargers. So I think there's going to be fewer and fewer opportunities. There might be a handful of spots where they're still looking, but it's starting to feel like that this roster is in pretty good shape as far as how they think it's going to shake out. The question to me is just going to be some of the injuries tonight, because they have a couple of cornerbacks that are dinged up, and that is the one spot that I think is, to a degree, kind of a mess right now in figuring out what that group is going to look like in week 1.
It's going to be a challenge. They could have to do something about it here in the short term, if not the long term. We'll have that if it breaks, and we'll get all that information to you here on the show 5 days a week. Plus, you know where to find us. If you don't, make sure you subscribe right now. Check out Matt at ChiefsDigest.com, Chiefs Digest here on YouTube, and check out 41 with the mic, as well as our outlets. Matt, thanks for the time and staying up late with us.
I'm always going to stay up late with you guys.
It's a good time. We hope you guys had one as well. Enjoy this game for what little takeaways you can get from it, and be ready, because preseason game number 3 is right around the corner, it feels like, and we are on to Brazil. Make sure that you're ready for all of that. Have a good one. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.